Welcome to the California High School Exit Exam Math portion of www.happynumbers.org. Today this lesson is going to deal with the algebra and functions strand, and we're going to talk again, pardon me, about coordinate planes, which we have already talked about, lines, and the slope of those lines. So let's take a look at what we have here. Well, on any plane, we can draw a line by connecting 2 points. And this line has a slope to it, a slant to it. And understanding the slopes of lines is really important. We use it in our life all the time. Think if you're a snowboarder and you go up to snowboard, and you're at these ski resort, and the different runs have different levels. Some are expert, some are easy, some are bunnies, and the way that the people at the resort determine the level of proficiency of is the slope of the hill. How steep the hill is. Steep hills are be the diamond or the black diamonds. The little very small hills, they'll be like the bunny slopes and things like that. Picture roads. Engineers building roads have to be very, very careful of the slope of the road or the steepness of the road. Have you ever driven along and you've seen a sign where it says truckers use lower gears because a 6% downgrade? That's all slope. The engineers had to calculate slopes of a road. If you've ever watched a NASCAR race, the racing track, the oval track, is not flat. It's sloped as they go around the turns. The turns are sloped so that the cars will stay on the track better. That all has to be figured out. Those are all different uses of the concepts of slopes of lines. So this line right here has a sort of a gentle slope. Not gentle, has a pretty steep slope actually. Here's a line with a very steep slope. And by the way, both of these lines are positive slopes because they start from the left and they go up to the right. Start on the left and going up to the right. These are all positive slopes. Here's a slope, a very steep slope that is a negative slope. Okay. This starts on the right and goes up to the left. That's a negative slope. Here's a sort of a flat negative slope. This starts on the right and goes to the left. That's a negative slope. We can have a line like this. This line has no slope, has zero slope. It's just flat, zero slope. We could have a line like this also. And this has no slope either. No slope either. This is not called a zero slope, it's called undefined. The horizontal line that is just flat is called zero slope. This is generally referred to as undefined or no slope. And a way to remember this, by the way, is slope man. This is slope man. If the slope is going this way, up from the left to the right, it's positive. If it's going this way, from right to left, it's negative. If it's straight up and down, it's no slope or undefined. And if it's a horizontal line, it's zero slope. So in looking at and answering questions on the high school exit exam, if they're saying, is this slope positive or negative, think of slope man. Good. All right, well, let's take a look at some problems that might be typical. Now, a slope. Let's take this slope, and we know from slope man, since it starts at the left and it's going to the right, that this is a positive slope. Okay. Now, to calculate the slope of a line, which you're going to have to do on the high school exit exam, and what engineers have to do when they're building roads or racetracks or anything that uses slope, slope is equal to what is called rise over run. Rise over run. Now, rise means movement up up on the y-axis. Run means movement across on the x-axis. The way I remember this, that rise is on top and run is on the bottom, is if I were to put these words in alphabetical order, rise, because it's R-I, would come first, so that goes on the top. Run would come next, would be second, because it's R-U, and I comes before U in the alphabet. So that's how I remember this formula. The slope is equal to the rise, the R-I-S-E, over the run. Well, let's just take a look here. Let's look at this point and this point. Those are the 2 points that determine this line. Well, the rise from this point to the x-axis is 1, 2. Remember, rise is movement up in the y-axis. So on the y-axis we go 1, 2. And the run from here to here is 1, 2, 3, 4. So slope equals rise over run, and we know Ri comes before Ru, so Ri goes on top. Our rise we calculated as 1, 2, and our run was 1, 2, 3, 4. Rise, so it's 2 rise over run 4. 2 over 4 is 1/2. So the slope of our line is 1/2. And by the way, the letter M is used to represent slope. So M equals 1/2, or the slope of this line is equal to 1/2. Again, to calculate the slope, rise over run. Ri goes on top because it comes first alphabetically, Ru underneath. Then you just count the rise here. The rise is on the y-axis from the point to the origin to 0. 1, 2. And then we count the run. From here it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 2 over 4, which is equal to 1/2. Good. Let's take a look at another problem. Let's look at this line. So is the slope of this line positive or negative? It's negative because it comes from here, starts on the right, and goes up towards the left. Remember slope man. Let's take a look at, okay, let's have this point and this point, okay? This point and this point. Well, let's calculate our rise. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our rise is 5. And let's take our run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Rise over run. 5 over 9. Notice it's a negative 5 because this line, a negative 5/9, because this line has a negative slope. As soon as you see the line has a negative slope, you know there'll be a negative sign in your answer. If it were positive slope, you wouldn't. But negative slope, you know there's going to be a negative in your answer. Okay, very simple. Rise, which is movement up the y-axis, and run, movement across the x-axis. This is 5/9, and it's a negative 5/9 because this line is a negative slope. Now, sometimes you'll be asked to work backwards. Sometimes you'll get a problem like this. Pardon me. And also pardon my neighbor who's working in his yard, and you'll hear the saw going on once in a while. So they give you the slope of this line. They tell you the slope, or M, of the line is 3/4. And they're giving you a line that has a run across the x-axis of 8, and they want you to calculate what the rise is going to be. What's the rise? Well, we know that slope is rise over run. So we set up 3/4 rise over run of the initial slope of the line, the rise over the run over the rise of this one, x, over the run, which is 8. Then we cross multiply 4 times x and 3 times 8. 4 times x is 4x. 3 times 8 is 24. So we have an equation, 4x equals 24. We divide both sides of the equation by 4, so we can get x alone. And we have 4x divided by 4 and 24 divided by 4. And we get the rise, x is equal to 6. So the rise here is 6. And so this would be 6/8. The slope of this line would be 6/8. But if we reduce 6/8 to its lowest name, we have 3/4, and that's what they told us the slope was. So we're correct. Okay, so let's just take another look. Here, they're giving us the slope of this line, and obviously it's a positive slope. And they're giving us the run here, and they want us to calculate what the rise would be here. So we set up an equation, rise over run of the initial slope, and rise over run, this is the rise, x, and the run is 8. We cross multiply, and we get 4x equals 24, and we solve the equation, and we get x is equal to 6. And that means the rise and run of this is 6/8, and if we reduce 6/8 to lowest terms, we get 3/4. Good. Let's take a look at this. Is the slope of this line positive or negative? Answer, it is positive. It starts on the left, goes up to the right. Now, these are typical questions now that you're looking at that you may get on the high school exit exam. And then they're going to want you to calculate, they'll ask you to calculate the slope. And you know that the slope is the rise, which is 1, 2, 3, over the run, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slope is rise over run, 3 over 6, and the slope is 1/2, and it is positive. It is positive. By the way, what slope means, okay, for this line, for every one element you move on the x-axis, you will move 1/2 on the y-axis. That's what 1/2 means. If I move 2 on the x-axis, I'll move 1 on the y-axis because 1/2 and 1/2 is 1 whole. So that's what slope means. For every one movement on the x-axis, there'll be such and such movement on the y-axis. Let's see if we can look at another one. Is the slope of this line to the right positive or negative? Is the slope of this line positive or negative? Slope is neither. This line has no slope. It's a 0 slope, and 0 is not positive or negative. So keep that in mind. Let's take a look at this. What is the slope of this line? Now, put your video or DVD or whatever you're looking at on pause and see if you can calculate the slope of that line. Then turn it back on and we'll take a look. Well, okay, let's see what we did here. We have 2 points. So let's look at the run first here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The run is 6, and the rise is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we know the run is 6 and the rise is 3. The formula is slope is rise, Ri, over run, Ru. The rise is 3. The run is 6. 3, 6 reduces to 1/2. Very simple problem. You'll get these easily on the exit exam. You'll do very well. Okay. Now, let's take a look at this line. Here's where we have to work backwards. First of all, let's analyze the line. Is this positive or negative slope? It's a negative slope because it moves from right to left. So we know there'll be a negative in our answer. They tell us that the slope of this line is 1/2. The slope is 1/2. And we have to calculate the rise for this. Well, we'll set up then rise over run. So the initial slope, the rise is 1, the run is 2. And in our new, what we have to figure out, the rise is x and the run is 6. So now we'll cross multiply. We get 2 times x is equal to 1 times 6. 2 times x is equal to 6. X is equal to 3. The rise is equal to 3. Good. Good. By the way, this should say -1 here because it's a negative line. My bad. -1. All right. Well, that's it. That's all there is to figuring out the rise. Figuring out the slope of an equation. And remember, if a line starts at the left and goes up to the right, it's positive slope. Even if it's relatively flat, even if it's like this starts at the left and goes to the right, that's a positive slope. A line that goes like this, that starts at the right and goes up to the left, is a negative slope. A line that goes straight across has no slope, it's zero slope. Zero slope. A line that goes straight up and down, whoops, my bad, I drew that wrong. Let's take this one. It's better. A line that goes up and down like that, that is undefined or no slope. Excellent. So keep in mind, rise over run. The slope is equal to rise over run. Remember that Ri comes before Ru, so Ri goes on top. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.